Hey y'all, and welcome to PolitiBrawl. My name is Brian, and this tense moment between Donald Trump and Prime Minister Mark Carney might actually turn into a greater relationship between the two nations. Let's dive in.
NAFTA was the worst trade deal in the history of our country, probably in the history of the world. And this was a transitional deal, and we'll see what happens. You know, we're going to be starting to possibly renegotiate that if it's even necessary. I don't know that it's necessary anymore, but it served a very good purpose. And the biggest purpose it served is we got rid of NAFTA. NAFTA was a very unfair deal for the United States. Very, very terrible deal. It should have never been made. It was made many years ago, but it should have never been made.
Canada and the United States, would you like to see your first trade deal be with Canada, our neighbors in the world?
I would love that. Look, I have a lot of respect for this man, and I watched him come up, in a sense, through the ranks when he wasn't given much of a chance, and he ran a really great campaign. He did a really great debate. I think that debate was very helpful. I was going to raise my hand. You know, I don't know if that's good or bad. I shouldn't say that. That might hurt you. But no, he ran a really great election, I thought. And yeah, something could happen. Something could happen. Yeah, please.
What's the top concession you want out of Canada? The top concession you want out of Canada?
Concession?
Yes.
Friendship.
But that's not a concession.
No, we're going to be friends with Canada. Regardless of anything, we're going to be friends with Canada. Canada is a very special place to me. I know so many people that live in Canada. My parents had relatives that lived in Canada, my mother in particular. And no, I love Canada. I have a lot of respect for the Canadians. Wayne Gretzky, I mean, how good, the great one. You happen to have a very, very good hockey player right here on the Capitals, who I have a lot of respect. He is a big, tough cookie, too. He just broke the record. And he's a great guy. And, you know, we had the team here, and I got to know a lot of the players. But now Canada is a very special place. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, I'd like to get your response to this too. Mr. President, you have said that Canada should become your 51st state.
Yeah. No. Well, I still believe that, but you know, it takes two to tango, right? But no, I do. I mean, I believe it would be a massive tax cut for the Canadian citizens. You get free military, you get tremendous medical cares and other things. There would be a lot of advantages, but it would be a massive tax cut. And it's also a beautiful, you know, as a real estate developer, you know, I'm a real estate developer at heart. When you get rid of that artificially drawn line, somebody drew that line many years ago with like a ruler, just a straight line right across the top of the country. When you look at that beautiful formation when it's together, I'm a very artistic person. But when I looked at that beauty, I said, that's the way it was meant to be. But, you know, I do feel it's much better for Canada. But we're not going to be discussing that unless somebody wants to discuss it. I think that there are tremendous benefits to the Canadian citizens, tremendously lower taxes, free military, which honestly we give you essentially anyway, because we're protecting Canada if you ever had a problem. But I think, it would really be a wonderful marriage because it's two places that get along very well. They like each other a lot.
Well, if I may, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, you know, Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever. But the opportunity is in the partnership and what we can build together. And we have done that in the past. And part of that, as the president just said, is with respect to our own security. And my government is committed for a step change in our investment in Canadian security and our partnership. And I'll say this as well, that the president has revitalized international security, revitalized NATO.
Wait. The owners of Canada? Did I hear that right? That is almost a Freudian slip if I've ever heard one. Mark Carney, however, isn't as bad as Justin Trudeau in many ways. Trudeau has tried to wield power like his father did, and his father kind of ruled with an iron fist. Remember, parliamentary politics are way different than here in the United States. You have to have a completely different style of coalition. You have to adopt a completely different style of rhetoric. And then the way they insult each other in the parliament is much, much different than we do in Congress. So it's a completely different animal, but Canada and the United States have been almost joined at the hip. And I found something very interesting in this. Trump's rhetoric is different than usual. And I can tell that Trump has more respect for this dude in this situation. There's sort of three levels of Trump respect, so to speak. There's the respect for adversaries, where he'll give them a little extra praise here and there. He tried to do that with Trudeau. I don't think Mark Carney falls into that category. Then there's the respect for close allies, where basically he's reminding them that the United States is still in charge. And y'all really need to get your act together to some degree, but I am willing to play nice with you. I think that's what's going on here. But then there's an even bigger one, and that is the kind of respect Donald Trump gives to people that he has worked in very deeply with the past or has been in similar fields. Mark Carney comes from banking. Trump comes from New York's real estate mogul dynasties, but he's also been able to rub elbows with some good banking buddies. So he's got a unique sort of respect here from Mark Carney, and I think that bodes incredibly well for both Canada and the United States. Because, y'all, if you don't know, Canada is in not free fall, but they aren't doing well. Ever since Trump's 51st state comment, basically Canadians have really looked at themselves and went, uh-oh, we've got a problem. And so basically their version of the Democrat Party kicks out Trudeau and says, hey, you either need to step down or we're going to force a vote of no confidence. That's essentially what happens here. And so Trudeau steps down and then says that Mark Carney's going to be the new guy. Carney ends up winning the upcoming election. And you can tell that there's a respect here, but even CNN, and just listen to the spin CNN puts on it. This is very interesting. Still, for all of his forceful pushback against Trump during this year's campaign, Carney appears on better footing with Trump than his predecessor, Justin Trudeau, whom Trump mocked as Governor Trudeau, in a nod to his ambitions to make Canada the 51st state. In other words, CNN is admitting that Trump has most of the cards in this situation, that Mark Carney has spent his entire campaign bashing on Donald Trump as much as he can. And I've said this many times on this channel, is that Trump's rhetoric is a tool. It's a negotiating tactic. And it's one of the lower tools that politicians have in their repertoire, but they often don't use it because not all of them are skilled in negotiation. Some of them are good as boardroom leaders, as in these are the guys you have in your inner party workings, in your inner chambers to make sure all the sludge keeps on moving through. You have your charismatic people who go out there and make the argument to the people. And then you have your policy wonks who actually understand what's going on and try to work with both sides in order to make sure everything comes together smoothly. Trump does two of these things incredibly well. It's rare you get politicians that even do one well. And so Trump has used his rhetoric in a way that's been both an attempt to negotiate outside of the boardroom and basically opening up what the U.S. can and can't do on the international stage. And Canada is realizing that after their economy has just been in such a malaise, people my age and younger in Canada, they're not owning homes. They're terrified that they're never going to be able to own their own home. That's something that happens on both sides of the border there. So you can notice that Trump has a different approach to the rhetoric here, no longer referring to Mark Carney as Canada's governor. He used that specifically for Trudeau. Then talking about Canada as not the 51st state, but as someone in a relationship where they're trying to reset some boundaries. That's why rhetoric is so important. You get big and tough on one area, and then when it's time to actually negotiate, you might be able to get everything what you want, but you're really willing to settle for what's in the middle. A lot of politicians don't like doing this because they're not able to walk those fine lines, but Trump can, and Mark Carney is used to this. I think we're about to see something special here. What's going to happen between Canada and the United States is going to be a better union going forward. And I'm not talking about North American Union and definitely not NAFTA, which got trashed here during this segment and quite on purpose. But we're about to see something different, sort of a paradigm shift, where the U.S. might be able to even help Canada a little bit There's something called the Northwest Passage, which doesn't really exist, but as Arctic ice has been opened up more and more, Canada wants to renegotiate some major deals on the international stage, and guess who's going to be able to help them in that process? Donald Trump. So look for that in the future. I am very excited to the next chapter of the United States and Canadian relations. And this, I think, is proof positive that good rhetoric actually works, good policy actually works, and having strong leadership. Mark Carney, as much as I disagree with the dude, is going to work pretty darn well with Donald Trump because they know where to respect each other. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on PolitiBrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. And until then, y'all have a good one.